Are robots on the verge of stealing our jobs? Think about it. If your job solely depends on driving, for example, what happens when this Google driverless car permeates the market? It's built to be safer, more efficient, and more convenient than any human driver. But this is just one predicament of thousands that will undoubtedly arise as more and more companies start embracing the tech industry, thereby eliminating the need for human labor. So should we just expect massive unemployment moving forward? Or is there room for people to work with this trend instead of against it? Earlier, I spoke with Federico Pistono, author of the book, Robots Will Steal Your Job, But That's Okay, How to Survive the Economic Collapse and Be Happy. I first asked him why the working class population shouldn't be afraid of the notion that technology can and will replace them. And here's what he had to say.
If the status quo is kept as it is, so we just go with inertia, it's going to be actually pretty catastrophic, especially for the middle class and the lower middle class. But eventually for all, because in a very unbalanced economy, society benefits only when everybody benefits. I think a combination of what I call the 3Ds, digitize, democratize, and distribute. So promoting and participating in the open source culture, the one where we make the knowledge, the sum of all human knowledge available everywhere in any language, the designs, right now we are digitizing not just culture and information technology, but we are digitizing things. In a few years, we'll be able to print circuit boards and devices. Actually, we're already starting. We can print all sorts of things. We can print wood, metal, ceramic, biopolymers, all sorts of things with micrometer precision with 3D printers that now cost a few $1,000s, and in a few years they will cost pennies, well, not pennies, but let's say $100 or $200, and those technologies will be open source, which means they will be available to all, but this is not a given. This is a possibility. So already right now they are trying to put DRM, digital rights management. It's sort of a lock to prevent you from having the freedom to do the things you need, such as printing the parts that you need or sharing information with other people that allow you to, for instance, the things that we need, such as water, food, energy, shelter, material objects that we need, education, all of those things are becoming cheaper and more available, and in most cases free and open, but there is a strong push from the establishment to keep these technologies and this knowledge from being available to everybody.
Yeah, but what about 3D printing of
a
gun? I mean, do you think there should be no regulation on things like that?
I mean, it's becoming obvious that the world is going to become a place where anybody can have anything. So what I think we should be doing, instead of thinking of monetary solutions or legislations to prevent people from doing X or Y, we should be promoting a different value system where open source, where collaboration, where empathy, where good values are actually rewarded in society. Because you can't prevent somebody from printing a gun. It's technically impossible. What you can do is you can work in the substrate of society by promoting good values so that people don't want to print a gun and kill somebody, because where I come from in Italy, it wouldn't make sense to do that because it will be abhorrent, people will be repulsed just by the idea and the notion of doing that.
Sure.
So you have to work at a very deep level, and one way is to promote resilience, sustainability, collaboration, sharing of information, of knowledge, and
sure, but Federico, the world is a very different place right now. I agree that that's an amazing, it's a beautiful vision to look toward. But right now, society's dependent on waste-driven things and pretty much destructive things for humanity. I mean, we're having all the smartest people working on death and destruction. Why are we doing this? I mean, why is humanity so focused on these things when the technologies that you're talking about are available? We had cars that could run on water decades ago. So what is going on here?
Well, to properly answer the question, I would require more than a couple of minutes. But, you know, it's all part of a giant system of feedback loops, and it's very, you know, they're all entangled. It's very hard to exactly pinpoint the reasons. But what I think you could sum up with is you get what you reward. So we wanted more productivity because we thought that material wealth allowed us to accrue more things, and that gave us a good standard of living, which it did. And it was very efficient. That's why the capitalist system won over basically every other societal system on the planet. But now we're seeing the shortcomings of this system. So what I think we should be doing is, what do we do next? And in the book that I wrote, this one, which, by the way, is also available for free, because I think we should be leading by example, so you can read it for free on the website. We should be promoting the things that take away the power from the corporations and the governments that accrue power. So if you design things to last and you make the designs open source, then you can provide for the things you need, because you can make them yourself with very little money or even no money. Because just imagine the energy that you need to run the 3D printer. It could be coming from solar energy, which you printed, which is, I mean, both the photovoltaic panel and the supercapacitor or the storage. In a few years, you can 3D print them.
Okay,
and
sure. So open source.
And all of these. So you print them, you make them to last, so that you don't need to keep constantly replenishing and buying new stuff, because you make it yourself. So why would you do something that breaks in 2 years?
Okay,
I mean, that's just because.
Sure, but once again, you're talking about the next step here. Right now, we're seeing governments seize on the surveillance technology. Privacy is basically eliminated. It's becoming a profit-making industry. I mean, the surveillance state is profiting off the government control in this, you know, the fishbowl that we're living in, Federico. How do we achieve that next step? I mean, and where does privacy fit into your end vision? Because you've said that the future will either be beautiful beyond imagination or dismayingly horrifying, much worse than sci-fi dystopias have prepared us for. How do we get to the former, not the latter here?
So one is you take the power out of the central powers right now, corporations and governments. And one way to do that is to promote open source projects, to spread your knowledge as much as possible, to support open source projects, and organizations such as the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which is a non-profit where lawyers work pro bono to protect our privacy and our rights online.
That was Federico Pistono, social entrepreneur and author of Robots Will Steal Your Job, but That's Okay. And there's much more ahead on tonight's show. After the break, we'll talk to director Slavko Martinov about his movie, Propaganda.